Hi, and welcome everyone. It's Lavender Sky Panther back with you for an impromptu card reading. It's Tuesday, March 14th, 2023, and hopefully something in here means something for you in a good way, brings something good to your life. This is going to be, however, just a general reading for the collective, kind of a overall for humanity type thing, and let's see what comes out. So before I even drew the first card, which I did pre-select by the way, since I'm not using a tripod, I had to kind of pull some cards in advance, but they're always done intuitively and just calling in the best and highest good for all when I put my intent behind pulling them. Now, the message that came to me before I even drew the first card was, or is, I should say, things are not always what they seem. So, in our little setting here, we have some runes, we have a Sasquatch, Bigfoot, however you want to term this people, Sasquatchy people, and yes, they are people, not an animal. And then we have a polished coconut shell. We have a whale tail over here too, and we have like a Christmas jingle bell. We have all kinds of things. And anyway, so and in keeping with the things are not always as they seem, this is why, because this coconut is actually a kalimba. And if you're not familiar with kalimba, it's also known as a thumb piano. Supposedly it originated in Africa. And, you just play it with the fingers or the thumb. I'll just try to do this here. It's actually hard to do it while holding the camera. It has different tones to it. It's not probably the proper way to play it, but you get the idea. And so that was an overwhelming message. Things are not always as they seem. Now, we'll get into the reading, and as before, I'm probably going to migrate all over the place, but hang in there with me. In general, what was kind of unfolding here was that here we have these cards, obviously nature-oriented. This comes from the Celtic Spirit Oracle deck by Nicola McIntosh, and then I've got some runes here. You can take a look and see if any of the symbols jump out at you. And I like when I do the readings, I like to throw some things down and then ask you to go look on your own time and investigate whatever jumped out for you in all of this, and look into the meanings further, especially if you look up spiritual meanings of things or healing meanings of things. Okay, so anyway, that's a little look at the runes. All right, so what happened was, as the cards came out, we started to see the Irish Celtic theme, and of course with very entrenched with wood and relationship with plants. Then we kind of took on a little Hawaiian theme here in the center with the coconut and then the whale tail, the rainbow, and this maiden or woman, spirit guardian of autumn, but also has a very kind of Hawaiian vintage feel to it. And then we go back to Ireland with the Ogham, the tree alphabet. And these cards are coming from Roots, Insights of the Ogham by Olivia Wylie. And there's some other decks too I'll try to put in the description box below. If you're curious about any, I'll go ahead and list them. Just let me know. In the meantime, these are the back sides of the different decks, just so you have an idea. Now I'm going to be using my little pointer here, my wand. Kind viewer brought up a good question. What kind did I use last time? Well, it's a sassafras root. I had ordered some to make some tea that I remembered having as a child. I was on a camping trip in Michigan, and I was very young. And I just remember the guide knelt down, pulled some sassafras root, threw it in a pot of water and boiled it. And that's where the origins of birch beer, root beer, come from the sassafras root. So anyway, that was interesting. And I invite you to look up all the healing properties of the sassafras, and especially the Native American meanings and how those spread to Europe and what happened there. As with anything, when we research things and looking back and trying to find the truth of things and definitions, I'm sure you'll understand a lot has been scrambled and changed and otherwise reflipped and reframed to mean different things, especially if you're looking on the internet. So it's always a good idea if you can go back to original source books and print to find some of these meanings, but we don't always have that luxury. So just always be very critical, like read really between the lines when looking at some of these historical data. And I call into question everything. So if I say something or use things as a reference, keep that in mind and definitely double check it, review other meanings for things that I talk about. And as always, this is like dream interpretation. If you tell someone your dream, say you tell 5 different people what your dream is, and then you ask them to interpret it for you, the one that's right is going to be just the one that clicks with you. So that's the same thing here. I may go over some things, but you might find other meanings and things in the cards. They may speak to you in different ways, and that's excellent. I love it, and I'm open to it and embrace it and welcome it. And if you have any other insights that you want to share, as always, feel free to do so in the comment section below. All right, so we'll just kind of, I'm going to go through again and mention the numbers for anybody interested in the numerology of things. We're going to have the number 36, which can equate to a 9, 10, which can be a 1. Then we also are going to have 35, which is an 8, 31, which is a 6. And let's see what else we've got. 22, hang on, bear with me. 22, which is a 4, and number 4 itself. All right, so let's look at this, the Celtic Spirit deck. So we've got the Herbalist, herbs, medicine, healing, and we have strength, growth, stability. And yes, that's with the tree spirit over there, and then we've got the Herbalist. So even though these are fairly self-explanatory, I am going to just, again, talk about whatever just comes to my mind. So right now with the Herbalist, it cannot be understated the value of herbs and as medicine right now in these days. There are many things that can be used to help treat and clear, let's just say, certain things that are in your body that you don't want there, whether they were directly injected and you realize, oh, that maybe wasn't the best thing to do, or things that are airborne, waterborne. There's been a lot of contamination in our world. And not by just your regular everyday human walking around. This is done by a systematic, organized way of poisoning the earth. So don't be fooled. We aren't just pesky little bad humans. Most of us are very good-hearted and want to see the best for this world. There's just an overarching and over-controller, let's just say dark entities at play. So don't want to go down that little path. I'm going to choose a different one right now. But just know that there's such good things with herbs and plants that really can help heal us. I just mentioned with the sassafras root, what can be done to go have a look of all the beautiful properties of what this can heal. I'm also looking here in the little ring, and it looks like dandelion, maybe mum. And oh my goodness, dandelion root tea is so incredible. Actually, licorice root tea, any of the root teas are really great and calming for the stomach, and have so many other healing properties. So if this notion is new to you, definitely start looking up what different herbal teas do, what they can do. Ashwagandha is another great one. They say for clarity and calm, and there's just a fascinating world, whether it's green tea, red base, black. They all have such wondrous healing properties. And also things that you can make from root and bark when you look around at the Native American medicine that they use. It's really incredible. And as I always say, before any of the Western medicine was developed, and actually even those are based loosely at one point on something that was organic, and then it got completely obliterated. But, before there was any of that, there were just plants and trees. And even today, if you let a dog loose or a goat or some kind of animal out into the field and they have an upset stomach, they're going to know naturally what herb to go, start munching on, or grass. And actually, there was a dog that used to come to my property, a friend's dog, and I have lemongrass planted around these bushes. And this one dog, actually, it was a miniature pit bull, would always run over to the lemongrass and start chewing on it. So they instinctively know what to do. And some people even do now what do they call it? Little herbal gardens in backyards and things for pets. And they do plant like dill, dandelion, and all kinds of things so that the animal can precisely do that. If the animal isn't feeling well or just likes some of these herbs, we'll just wander over and naturally find and root out the one that it likes. Anyway, let's move on. So that's just that comes to mind here. Oh, also one more thing about the herbs and healing in a more minor way. Of course, there are more magnificent things these can do for more quote unquote seriously diseases and ailments, but also in a minor level, although it's not minor if you're dealing with it. I was just challenged to look something up on how to heal canker sores in the mouth. And what's interesting is there are a ton of natural remedies to go treat that. And one is just also taking a tea bag, and there are many different teas that can work for this. and steeping it a little bit and making it warm, and then using it as a compress on the canker sore. So I invite you to look around in that whole little world. And if you're not already, I know a lot of people here, if you're here and found this channel, you're probably doing some of these things already, but it's just a little reminder to go there first. Okay, now the tree spirit, I'm not going to spend too much time on, other than look at the face, on this card, how it's depicted. If you're familiar with Lord of the Rings, we know they talk about the Ents, which were actually tree beings with very human characteristics. I like the way the roots are going up into the sky, because that brings up a topic here regarding the Sasquatch. Now, there are a lot of YouTube channels now talking about, yes, these beings are real. I know for a fact they do exist. I've had experience with them. Now, just to say, it's not as in-depth as other people have had, but I've definitely had enough to know they exist. Now, look at the face of this being, and then you kind of look at the face on the card. It just, they interrelate, and these beings, the Sasquatchy people, they're a people, not an animal, are known to, camouflage and hug trees and blend in, so they're not seen. They're masters of camouflage. And they're also interdimensional beings, or can be. Portals are associated with them, and a whole bunch of other things. I'm not going to go down that path right now, but they are fascinating beings. Anyway, they do have a close relationship, obviously, with the trees, and know how to work their environment. And so what I want to say is, though, that in some cases, people report that they have lifted up a huge tree, because these beings can be, I guess, the small version of them can be 3 feet, but other versions are 6 feet on up to 12 feet. Sometimes people have reported even taller, like up to 18 or more, I believe. But whatever the case, it's very easy for them to pick up a whole tree and uproot it. And then apparently they just slam it down into the ground with such force and precision that then the tree is just sticking, the opposite way in. So the top is sticking into the ground and the roots are sticking up into the sky. And that's kind of what this reminds me of. But isn't it interesting how whether it's the roots of the tree, because this is how I'm interpreting it, but actually this could just be the branches, but looks more like the roots. But if you flipped it around and you just have the branches, it has a similar effect. So whatever the case, whichever way it's oriented, I love the way these branches are reaching up, either into the heavens or down and into the ground, and that they actually do both. And that's like us. If you stand rooted in the ground, you dig your feet in, and then you spread your arms up into the sky, especially like in the Y position, like a victory, like if you just want to race. That's a way just to really bring in a lot of beautiful divine power in through you. And then your body becomes that, that trunk, and then your feet, anchor down in and connect into the power of the earth. So that's just coming to mind. Okay, we're going to move on now, though. So now let's look at this central portion. And these 2 cards are coming from Denise Linn's The Sacred Forest Oracle. And normally I like to also credit the illustrators and the artists of these decks, because actually without them, and vice versa, and the writer, you wouldn't have the power behind a deck, and especially the illustrations. So I'm not going to mention them, but do look it up and look up the artists. Okay, now this one, we'll start off the Spirit Guardian of Autumn. The message is letting go. And then paired with it is, I'm sorry, I'm going to try to look at this while holding this. Rainbow Waters. Rainbow Waterfall. Okay, miracles. And once again, this was last minute that I saw this whale tail lying about and thought I would include it. And actually on the end of it is a puka shell. So I'm sorry, it's going to be hard to do this, but there's the shell. Okay. So again, it's just tying in with a lot of natural elements, where we've got, the herbs, the medicines, the tree. We've got shells, and we've got the shell of the coconut, all beautiful natural elements here that are coming up in this reading. So actually I want to start with this card first. I'm not going to belabor this pairing so much, but like the last reading, the butterfly was prominent, and here they are again. And you might want to look into what red, orange, and purples and blues mean for you. Of course, with the chakras, the red oranges go down to the base of the root chakras, and the purples and blues the throat. And then we've got violet indigo going up into toward the crown chakra. And then we've got this beautiful rainbow here, which is made possible because of its local environment. And what I love about the rainbow is we always see a partial arc usually and associate that in our little mind, memory banks of being a rainbow or perhaps a full arc in the sky. But what I love is when it's looked at as a full circle. Okay, and here we start to see a little bit of it forming, through the reflection. And that just always fascinated me when I heard that actually rainbows are full circles. That just kind of was a mind expanding moment for me. And I'm like, yeah, so there's so much more to the rainbow. And again, things aren't always as they seem. We just see a partial arc, but in reality, they can form a full circle. So that's all I'm going to say about this card for now. There's many more things I could say, but we're going to move along. So Spirit Garden of Autumn, letting go. Now she is adorned with a crown of leaves. She seems very tranquil. And again, I like her pose, her position. She's very centered within herself, very balanced, very peaceful. And again, has this nice alignment like a tree. And her hand is going up and the leaves are extending upward, much like our friend over here, And she's also holding a bounty. And it's a reminder of there is no lack in nature. Okay. And we need to really remember this. Well, we don't need to do anything, but it's a reminder, friendly reminder. There is no lack. Modern society is going to say, oh, there's not enough and this and that. No, it's simply not true. We're given the bounty of nature every single day. And if everything went down, all the systems went down, and you couldn't go to a store to get things or whatever, believe me, if we turned all of our eyes to nature, we would not be disappointed, and we're always provided for. So remember that today. Now I'm going to move along to the Ogham in the tree alphabet. Here we have pulled the blackthorn, the ash, and the ivy. Okay, and the messages are change, connect, grow. And I think those are pretty self-explanatory in their different ways. What really jumped out at me out of this little trio, however, was the blackthorn. I'm not really familiar with it. And the companion book to this deck is extraordinary. I highly recommend it. This is that Roots Insights of the Ogham deck. The detail and the lore and the Irish lore that Olivia draws off of is just amazing, the depth. So I don't want to give that away. I want to invite you to go check that out for yourself. But I do want to read one tiny excerpt on page 75 regarding the blackthorn and change. And I think it's very important and very timely right now. And it goes like this, page 75. Do not fear change, even when it comes wearing the mask of death. A seed that never ends its present existence will never grow. And I want to read that last part again. A seed that never ends its present existence will never grow. So yes, if the seed weren't completely obliterated, if you think about it, with things bursting up out of it and changing and transforming its state, there would be no beautiful flourishing life from that one little seed. So that's a beautiful thing to think about. And I know, especially since a lot of us, myself included, are facing a lot of people that are transitioning or exiting this planet lately. And that's very important to remember that we all transform. And I firmly believe that we don't truly die. We do discard the 3D form, but our essence does go on. So anyway, when you know that, then you know that you do not fear when change comes, because you know that it's all a part of life, and we need to celebrate that life part. All right, so anyway, here we go. Just one more little overall view. I'm just going to consider if I didn't include something I really wanted to. I think, once again, that's kind of all that wanted to come out. I could go on and on with this just particular setting, probably for a week straight. But I'm going to stop now, and I really hope it brought some value to you today. And even if it didn't, who cares? I hope you're just having fun or enjoying something in your life right here, right now. So as always, I wish all of you tremendous peace and love. Lavender Sky Panther. Bye.